On this episode of the Small Town Western New York Companion Podcast, I'm talking to Mary Lou, the owner and founder of Case-Nic Cookies in Medina, New York. Case-Nic Cookies is a decades-old business that was around when things weren't so happening for Medina, and is one of a handful of seminal businesses that helped play a role and pave the way for the success that Medina is experiencing today. Mary Lou is a great example of someone who followed her heart, followed her vision, and simply followed through and stuck to her guns, ultimately coming out on top and building something truly special for her hometown. So now you guys have been in business for 27 years. So how did you guys get started in the business?
Well, originally I was a registered nurse.
Okay.
And I did that for 15 years.
Wow.
And I always had wanted to have my own cookie shop.
So were you the type of person that would bring in the cookies onto your floor?
Yep.
And people would just like go completely crazy over them?
Well, I don't know if they went crazy over them, but I was the one that brought them in a lot. And I had always wanted to do it. And at one point I had, I don't know if you remember Lockport Mall.
Sure I do. Yeah, I used to go there.
Okay. I actually had talked with them, and we were just about ready to, sign contracts and commit to it. And they called me at the last minute and said they didn't want me there because I was only a nurse. I was not a business person.
Oh, you're kidding.
No.
They told you no because you were a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
Ay.
So I thought, well, maybe this is my sign that I shouldn't do this. Then I was going to go back to school and become a PA. But at that point I had, a 3 and a 5-year-old.
Okay.
And it's like, how am I ever going to do that? And then one day I went down Main Street and it's like, there's a store, I could try that out. So I told my husband, I said, I just want to try it. If it doesn't work after a year, then I'll close it up and go back to nursing. I said, but at that point it was like, you know what? I don't want to be 80 years old and say, would a cookie shop have worked?
Oh, right.
I had to follow that dream. And so I did.
I love that story because first and foremost, all of my clients are all entrepreneurs, and I'm an entrepreneur. I come from an entrepreneurial background, and that is the mantra, right? Because you can't, I don't know, it's so weird. Like you talk to everybody, and I think almost everybody who isn't following what they want to do has that Walter Mitty thing that's just on their shoulder at all times. And really, I think you just have to, right?
I knew I had to.
I think that's fantastic. So, was it the same store that you're in now?
No, I was actually down on the other end of Main Street.
Okay. Was it smaller, like a little sliver of a place, pretty much?
It was definitely smaller. I mean, at that point, it was like, if I sell 20 dozen cookies a week, that'll be okay. That'll keep me through.
Sure.
And so it was a very small shop. In fact, my first landlord, I really think that he didn't think I don't think there was a person in Medina that thought a cookie shop would last. So I really honestly don't. Well, and a person did come up to me, several years later and tell me that. She goes, I didn't think you would make it past 6 months. So,
wow.
And then we literally grew out of that spot, and I bought the building where I'm at now, which has, 3 floors, where before it was just 1 floor. And so this is awesome. So I didn't know this. This is why I love doing this without any research. I didn't know you owned your own building. Yes, I bought the building.
So you're there's like this troop of you guys in Medina, which it's so rare. There's not many towns. Like, granted, there are people in other towns, of course, that own the building that they have their business in, but it seems like that's a thing there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, that's beautiful though, because you guys, when you own that building, it changes the entire relationship you have with the town, with your business, with everything, right? Because now you own property in such a beautiful place, but it's a historic town, and you own a historic building. The investment's awesome. So you literally jumped from that little shop to owning the building?
Well, it took a few years to pay that off, but yes. So we moved, it was like, let's see, we opened in 95, and I think we moved over there in 99.
Wow.
So, so it was a big step, but at the same time, I was just running out of room.
Mm-hmm.
basically what was happening. So
Because you were busy and it was working, right?
right.
If you want to take a jump back too, so that was 30 years ago. And if I remember correctly, cookie shop. So, we have like muffin shop, but everything's so specialized now, right?
Hmm.
Especially in the baking field. There's there's specialty bakeries everywhere. But when you started this, I don't really remember if there was bakeries and they sold cookies and cakes and bread, but there really wasn't a cookie shop.
No, there was not. In fact, in Medina, there was Corky's Bakery, which was donuts, and they did a lot of cupcakes and
Hmm.
cakes and stuff like that. But other than that, I mean, pretty much Tops
Right.
was the other bakery place.
Wow,
So
that's awesome. So, did you was that your forte? Like at home, it was just cookies? Did you bake other things or?
at home, I just baked chocolate chip cookies. That was it.
Wait, did you start
So,
with like the chocolate chip cookie? Like that was the thing?
well, when we opened up, the funny thing is, we opened up on a Saturday,
Okay.
and the people were actually lined up down the sidewalk waiting to get in.
Oh my God.
And all of my family was there helping me out. And at that time, I only had like a home oven because I thought, oh, this will be good.
Well, you're just getting going, right?
Yes. And I really honestly didn't know if it was going to work either. So
Sure.
I
You
can
don't want to
remember.
go into like a big
Yeah.
blinded oven right away, right?
Yeah. So we started with 5 kinds of cookies.
Okay.
And I can still remember my nephew Derek running back into the kitchen saying, "We need more cookies." And I'm like, "I can't bake them any quicker."
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
That should be on a shirt, actually. We need more cookies. That's a good
but
slogan.
but
So he was helping up at the front counter.
he was at the front counter. My sisters were. Everybody in my family was there
That's
helping me.
awesome. That's a really
Yeah.
cool story. So, what were your
So,
first 5 cookies?
Snickerdoodle chocolate chip, peanut butter M&M, and what was the third one or the fifth one? I can't remember off the top of my head.
30 years ago, I didn't even Snickerdoodles to me was like a relatively new thing. I don't know if you were onto that early or like.
Well, I used to make snickerdoodles at home too.
Oh, okay, okay.
So those, for work,
Yeah.
but I didn't really eat them.
Right,
So.
right. It's probably the circles that you move in because I never heard of them. And then I was out in California and I heard of them, and they're amazing. So you start with 5 cookies, a home oven, in a little shop, and
in a little shop.
And word must have spread like super fast because obviously having a line out your door is a shock at the first day. And it's not what you were probably thrilled, but by the same token, you were probably terrified, right?
I was, and then the worst part was on Monday. That Monday after I opened up, I was, I got in there early and baked and had enough cookies, and then I was just waiting and waiting, and I had no customers. No customers came. And I was looking out the window, and nobody was coming in.
Sure.
And I realized it was like 12:15. Number 1, that I hadn't turned the open sign, and number 2, I hadn't unlocked the door. So after I did all that,
Your first day in business, you didn't turn on the open sign and open the door?
No.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It was terrifying and devastating.
Oh no, because I know, right? Because your first day, you're like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, we had a great Saturday, and now it sucks.
Oh, that's hilarious. I don't think I've ever heard of that. But you know what? Because there is. So this is the thing that people don't realize. Like, I don't care if you've been in business for 50 years. There's so much, especially I grew up in a restaurant, 32 years. We were open and closed type of family, right? And there is so much going on from the second you pull up, even from the second your eyes open in the morning, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, and if you're not used to it, which you couldn't have been because it was your first day, you're overwhelmed with everything. You're just like, you're just worried about everything. So
yes, I was.
Yeah, it's a natural thing, I could imagine. And I'm sure you're not the only one. That would be interesting. I'm going to use that throughout the years here and ask other people.
Oh, dear.
I bet I'm going to learn that you weren't the only one that did that.
I hope not. I hope I'm not the only one that's done that.
No, I'm sure you're not. It's just something that you're honest enough and awesome enough to attest to. So you had your little oven. You probably had like just a baker's rack, right? And some trays. I mean, you probably just had like minimal equipment, really. It's a,
I pretty much did. Yes.
wow. And you had your 5 recipes, which were proven recipes, right? There was
Right.
nothing that you just pulled out of the air. These are things that you've been making for years.
Right.
And your family was helping you. And
Hmm.
so did you diversify your product selection within like the first year, or did you just kind of stick with those for a while?
No. Within the first year, we started with more cookies because people would come in and say, "Do you make this?" And it's like,
Ah.
"Oh, okay, so I can make this." So,
Right. Right. Well,
so
you know what's awesome? Listening to your customers is the number one thing you can do in any business. I still do it to this day. If you come to me with I always say, if I hear it from one person, this is kind of my mantra with business. If I hear something, whether it's a compliment, a problem, an issue, if I hear from one person, that's an opinion, and I have to take that to heart, and I will file it in my muscle memory. I have a whole file system for these type of things. If I hear it from 2 people, then it's like I solve it, because if I don't care if you guys know each other or you don't even know each other, but if I hear it from 2 people, then it's got to get addressed. So it's the same type of thing, when we had our restaurant, like if people would come in and they would ask for something, they're telling you, right?
Right.
They're saying, if you make this, I will buy this. So
Right.
it's on you if you don't make it, right? And
Exactly.
you know that they're not the only one. That's kind of what I was alluding to here. So if
Yeah.
if one person tells me something, I file it away. If 2 tell me, then it's done.
Uh-huh.
And if one person brings something to my attention, and it's like a business like that, if somebody says, "Hey, why don't you do this?" and I never thought of it before, and it's a great idea, then I just don't even think about it. I just put it right into the pipeline. So that's awesome. So what was your first expansion cookie? Do you remember?
I honestly
You
don't.
So, okay, so let's go. So, what was like the end of the first year like? You were kicking butt. And how many cookies did you have then? Like, let's say, like a year later, were you like full out?
I would say we had probably maybe 10 kinds that we did consistently.
That's awesome, though. So you didn't go crazy. You kept it. You're still under a dozen. And the awesome thing is you were still just doing cookies, right?
Right.
Yeah. See, now so you're really predating this whole specialized thing back then, because 30 years ago, like I said, there was like, if you go to the mall, there was the pretzel shop, and there was, what's that cookie place in the mall?
I know what you're calling it, but I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, so, and that place I think was around next. I remember that when I was a kid, but it really wasn't, it was a corporate thing, and their cookies were horrible, actually. So now, within that time period, though, you're probably getting cramped, and then you wanted to move. Yes.
Not at that point.
No.
I didn't even consider that until, a couple years later. But we did add frosted cutouts. Somebody wanted frosted cutouts, and I was like, okay, I can do them.
Okay.
And so once we started doing them, we just didn't have the room to be able to laying all them out, frosting them, decorating them, and then, and that's all I started with was a happy face cookie.
Okay. Well, you still make those.
I do, but now we do probably another 150 different designs. So.
Oh my God. Well, my parents started in business in 1968 in a tiny little shop in South Buffalo with the big thing is, like, my mom will pull out the menu sometimes even today, and they did the same thing. They had Fanta Pop, because that's all the distribution they could get on their sodas. They had fries, and I think it was steak subs and maybe 2 other subs. It was so simple and so beautiful, right? Because nowadays you just, like you just said, you make 150 different varieties of a happy face, and so
150 different designs not
right.
Just of happy face. So
in total, right, everything.
Yeah.
But that's 150 types of cookies is a lot, and you're talking something that you need the base products for, and you need the experience making, and you also, obviously they have to come out beautiful, and it's difficult. And I think that was awesome that you stuck with just under a dozen cookies for a while. Was that just your gut instinct, like you didn't want to expand too fast, or you weren't even really thinking about it at that point?
I don't think I was really thinking about it at that point.
Yeah.
Because now we officially do a dozen variety every day. We bake the same dozen variety every day, and then we have all the specialty ones. that we do by request.
So now that leads me, and so are those 12, are those still those same cookies that you started with? Are those your base standards you make every
Yep.
day?
Yeah, and then we added one we added by mistake because we made a peanut butter cookie, and I had an intern at the time who added both peanut butter chips and chocolate chips to it, so that became our peanut butter blast.
Well,
Totally by
yeah,
accident.
I'm sure. Well, that's just delicious, anyways. So you can't go
So
wrong with that.
yeah, so we have probably another 12 to 15, 18 specialty cookies that we do if people request them. So
Okay, that's awesome. So
yeah,
let's say your basic dozen are made every single day, and then
correct.
you have like other things that you will put out too. Like, do you have like a cookie of the day that's like a makeshift type of thing? You'll just like whip something up, or
We used to before COVID, every day would be a different day. Molasses it'd be Monday molasses. Brownies would be on Tuesday.
okay,
The frosted cutouts would be on Wednesday. Thursday was sweet rolls, and Friday were usually carrot cookies. But since COVID, we don't do that anymore. So,
right.
we do have the frosted cutouts almost every single day, though,
Oh, that's
because
great.
people really
They're addicted
request
to them,
them.
aren't
So
they?
they kind of are. That's a good thing.
Yeah, well, it's like no different. Like it's like at Christmas time when you're just like walking by. Because I can only imagine if you live there and you know how those things happen, right? If you're
Hmm.
driving by and you're just like, oh man, I could go for one of those. You're done. You're gonna stop in within a day. you know, that's all
Well,
it takes.
the thing about Christmas is we take so many orders that we actually cut orders off for Christmas like December 8th
Oh my gosh,
because we try to do only 100 dozen of cutouts a day
a
just because
hundred
of
dozen a
space.
day.
Yeah, just because of space, we don't have enough space to do more than that.
Wow.
I mean, some days we do,
Right.
120, 140 dozen a day. And when we do trains for the cookies for the train. What is
Oh, you
that train
do?
in
Okay, so they'll
Medina?
hand them out. Does that go with the ticket? Like you buy the ticket, you get a cookie type of thing?
Correct.
Okay.
So, I mean, and they order thousands of dozens. So,
Wow.
depending on the day. So we have to cut off Christmas. And let me tell you, there are angry people on December 10th when they can't order.
Well, that's because see, you know what I love too about your business, and it was the same thing in our business, and it's the same thing with any business that feeds people or services people, and you've been around for 3 decades in the same town. You become such a part of the fabric of the town and people's lives, and you become part of people's traditions.
I truly believe that has happened. Yes.
Yeah, and
Definitely.
it's amazing that, and I mean, I always felt so proud and so happy and grateful when I would hear stories like, I remember you when you were in the back room in the playpen, and now here they are placing an order for their kid's graduation.
Yeah.
Like it's just amazing. It just would blow my mind that just that lineage that you would have with people and that arc that you would develop in a community. And that's when I walked into your business, like I just love the feel of your business, and I love how it is, and I love that you're there still. I mean, there's a lot of business owners now, and you know this as well as I do, that once they get it up and running, it's kind of like a thing nowadays. Everybody wants to scale everything, and everybody wants to grow everything, and a lot of owners are absentee. And I loved the fact that you were there, and that you were just still, because that's why people go there, and whether you know that or not, if you're not there, it changes the nature of the business, right?
Well, I don't know because I'm always there.
Right? If the tree falls in the forest, will anybody hear it?
We do close the first 2 weeks in January.
Okay.
We've done that as a tradition because number one, first year we were completely exhausted and we
sure.
could not do anything more. And then we just decided, you know what, people are holidayed out, and people are used to us being closed.
Right.
And when we open up back on the 15th or the 16th, they're ready for us. So
isn't that great? That's so cool that you did that. And maybe you did it out of necessity, but you got to have that break, especially after so many years doing this. I mean, by our 32nd year, my mom was like, she was done. She was ready to retire. She was like, I can't do this anymore. And there was a couple times on a couple of really busy shifts where she would just put down the order and just, I got to go. That's, she's just like, you just got to go. And
Yeah.
what are you going to say? I mean, she's been doing this since I was born. So,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, well, I'll see you later. Just do what you
Yeah.
got to do. And you'd see the
I
look.
can relate to that.
Well, I mean, you've been doing it for 27 years too. So, and nursing isn't a walk in the park either. So you've been, isn't it funny though too that nursing almost trains you for this type of work because it's such a demanding on your feet thing that's so attentive, and it's very similar to, like, obviously it's not as critical, but for restaurant work and service work like this, because you're on your feet constantly, there's a million things going on, and you've got to stay so focused and so on it to be able to do this. So now, what would you like what's like the one thing that you want people to know that aren't familiar with Medina and your business about your business? Like, we're driving down the street and somebody sees Case-Nic Cookies, and what do you want them to know about your business?
Well, first of all, I just want to point out when I opened up, Main Street was almost as dead as it could be. I mean, there were so few storefronts on Main Street, and now there are I think just about every storefront is occupied, and parking is an issue. That was never an issue on Main Street.
Wow.
And people will come in and complain about that. It's like, I'll tell them, yes, I feel bad that you're having trouble getting parking, but I'm ecstatic that the parking spaces are being taken.
Yeah.
You know?
You lived through some dark periods, I'm sure, right?
Oh yeah, 2008 was a bad year.
Yeah, it was bad for everybody, actually. Yeah. And then now you lived through that and the recession that we had for the pandemic. I mean, essentially, that's no doubt what it was. So go on. I'm sorry, I cut you off there.
So, I mean, I think, I guess when people come in that haven't ever been in there, they're, number one, surprised that we have been in business so long.
Right.
And number two, most of the time we can accommodate them for what they want as they walk in the door.
Okay.
So, it's just nice that people are able to walk in, get a cookie, taste it, take a pamphlet, and then, call us 3 weeks later with an order that they never would have thought they would have placed.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's huge, and that's what I love about your business. I love that you can. It's what I think we even exchanged that very sentiment when I was talking to you. It's just about that. Like, this show is about finding those sponsors that when people go to town, they remember your business. They stop in, they get a cookie, and it opens up a relationship really with the business a lot of times.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's Laura's across the street or yourself or the gallery or Bonnie's or Julie's down. It doesn't matter, or the chocolate shop. It's just that they need to know that these places are there, and it's just such a beautiful town. And I didn't know that that you were part of, I mean, of course it's obvious 30 years ago, but you were really part of the seminal group of businesses that are still there today, that seen that arc of this town that went, just like much of Western New York, that was really decimated and struggling and on its knees, and look at it now. It's got to be amazing for you, right?
It absolutely is. It is just amazing at how and the variety of stores that there are.
It's like a mall.
It's not like there used to be another bakery on Main Street. But that closed due to the owner's illness.
Okay.
But, for the most part, we're all different stores, fronts. So I think that's what makes Medina such a great town to come to.
There's literally something for everybody there.
Yes, definitely.
And that's what I loved about it too. It's been a journey for me, and it still will be through this whole month as I produce these episodes for the town, and even after, I'm sure, because I'll continue to go there. It's the way that it should be. Like, you guys are doing everything right, and I'm sure for a long time, as a business owner, you were probably you were one of the businesses that were inspiring other business owners to start those businesses.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, well, sure, because you've been there because you're proof of concept. You're proof that somebody could survive there.
Yeah, that we are.
Yeah, and somebody could do well. So if I'm going to invest $50,000, $60,000 to $100,000, and I'm going to plunk down, my life savings into a business, I need to know that. And have you had people approach you in the past that are interested in opening businesses there and talk to you about it, or no?
Maybe a few.
Yeah.
But and the other thing, part of the reason I wanted to open the business, because I love to bake and I love cookies, and I wanted to do that, but at the same time, I had two young kids, and I didn't want, and this may sound horrible, but I didn't want to have to send them to a babysitter and quote have somebody else raising them during the day.
I was in the back
So
room.
yeah, and that's where my kids were. We had we had a little bedroom for them.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
and I just didn't want to miss that. And my daughter has special needs, so there was extra stuff I had to make sure got done with her.
Sure.
And I did not miss a single soccer game, a single football game, a single baseball or whatever game that Casey, my son, was in.
Wow.
Through the whole time he played during high school and everything. And that was important to me, that I did not miss any of that. And there was only one football game that I missed out of every single game he played and every single game that Nick cheered at. I have never had to miss a play that they were in or whatever. I just would leave work and say, you guys are on your own right now. I have to go do this with my kids. So that was very important to me.
It's amazing that I was able to provide that for you, because what job could do that?
Right.
Seriously. And you have that, and you had that, and you've established that. And sure, if you have any kid, especially one with special needs, I mean, you should be there for them. But the problem with entrepreneurship and small businesses is, you're either like I am, or your kids, where you were raised in the back room, or your parents just weren't there. And all the kids that I know, it's funny too, all the kids that I know that were raised in back rooms and were part of the business, those are the best families. And I'm not being comparative, but it's just because the kids and the parents bonded in a way that you don't get otherwise, and you didn't miss anything. You know what I mean? And it's hard. Parenting is an impossible task sometimes. And if you put the demands and the hours that you have to spend as an entrepreneur in your business on top of all that, it can be crushing. So having your kids there with you is awesome. And you know what? I bet you they probably had fun with it too, right?
Oh, I'm sure they did.
Yeah. That's awesome. So are they working there now, or?
No. Case, who is the Case in Case-Nic, and Nicole is the Nick in Case-Nic. Casey, has his own business at this point and has two children and married. And
awesome.
Nikki, she goes to Dayhab every day through the Ark. And so, they both help me out if I would need it.
Sure.
But,
Oh, that's great, though. That's fantastic. And there's the name. I was going to ask you about the name, actually.
Yep.
So it's your kids.
It's my kids, yes. Originally, I started out as the Cookie Bouquet. And when I applied for my permit, they said, oh, yeah, that's an okay name. Well, about 4 years into it, I got a letter from the big Cookie Bouquet company in the United States who said, I need to give this name up or they're going to sue me. So
you're like, bye-bye.
So I got rid of it really fast.
Sure. But that's a great name too. I just love it. Well, plus you get the alliteration of the C and the C, the Case-Nic Cookies.
Right.
So that kind of works right there too. But it's a good name, actually. A couple syllables. You got the cookie on the end. And I love that you just never wavered from your mission and what you love to do. And you are a rare bird in the landscape of restaurant and service and cookie and bakery businesses, because you didn't go hog wild. And I think there's nothing worse than that. Like if you do something so well, you're so passionate about it, then do that, right? Just do that thing, because that's what you're doing. That's what you should do. But so many of us, like if you get a customer that comes in, let's say you get 10 customers that come in and you start asking for bread. A lot of businesses are going to be like, oh, really? And they're going to start maybe investigating that. But don't do that. Just do what you do.
We actually did do that.
You did. So you bent a little bit at some point.
We do a lot of cakes.
Sure. Well, cakes and cookies will go hand in hand.
Cakes and cookies and cupcakes and some wedding cakes and stuff like that. I mean, I don't go hog wild over that. Cookies is our main
That's what
thing.
I'm saying. Yeah, that's your wheelhouse, Yeah. That's what you do. That's what you're known for. That's what and I love the fact that so you've been in business for 27 years. Do you have customers that have literally been coming in for 27 years?
Yes.
Isn't that awesome?
Yes.
Now they're not even a customer anymore at this point, right? That stops within the first year or so, correct?
There are some of them that are, are very good friends with. So
Yeah, isn't that
it
funny? Yeah, no, I know.
yeah,
In our business, after that long, people come in just to see you and to talk, and just you end up sometimes. If they come in at the right time, you could sit down in the booth with them, and then you're invited over to their. I mean, there's just the barrier between customer and service is just there is no barrier. They're just part of
right,
your family, your extended
yeah.
family after a while. So, and then you almost feel bad. I know I shouldn't say this, but it's true, and I'm sure sometimes you feel it. You're like, you just don't even want to charge them. But they're like family.
I
You
know.
almost want to like say, just come behind the counter, get what you want.
Yeah, really.
I mean, it feels
I have
like
a few of
that.
those people.
You had no business left, but
Yeah.
but after a while, you see them all the time. It's awesome, and that's when I walked into your business and you were there. I always have this thing that where's the person? If I can't meet the business owner, then generally you'll never see that business on my show, because
Oh,
and that's nothing against bigger businesses, and I do have bigger businesses on my show, and I have organizations, but primarily I think it's so important to support these type of businesses, because no matter what, this is what it's all about. You had a passion and you followed it through against all odds because nobody thought it was going to work. You made
nope.
it work. You've lasted for almost 30 years and you've been doing great, and you have a great product, and you're awesome, and your family's awesome, and you're part of the community. It's like all those beautiful things all wrapped up in that one idea that you were like, you know what, I'm going to start a cookie company. It's just
Well, like I tell people when they ask, so how are you doing? How are you getting through? How did you get through COVID? Blah, 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 blah. And I just tell them we're rolling in the dough. So
but that's on the back of the t-shirt. We need more cookies is on the front. We're rolling in the doughs on the back. And then on the
yep,
bottom's Case-Nic Cookies. That's your
that's
new
a good
new
idea.
promotion.
I may steal that idea.
Oh, you should. That's awesome. We need more cookies is hilarious. Actually. It's like the we need
Oh,
more Calgon or whatever it was. You
yeah.
know. Because and then it's just like a Lucy moment, right? Because you were probably sweating bullets back there, and not only do you need more cookies, but the day didn't start off that great because you didn't unlock the door and turn on the open sign. So that's just
Oh,
sticking with you all day, right?
that is stuck in my head forever.
Oh, I'm sure that's a hilarious story. So you guys, on top of you make your beautiful foundational cookies every morning, and then you have, you do catering, right? That type of thing. Like you'll do, you make cakes and cupcakes and whatnot. So if I was to order from you, dependent upon how large it is, what's your lead time on something like that?
Basically for the everyday cookies, I mean, you can call me the day before.
Okay.
If they're frosted cutouts, we generally need, depending on what design I'm doing, we tell them we like to know at least 6 to 7 days ahead of time.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, that's not bad at all.
no,
And so, are
so
you like, what if I have like my mom used to make something, but now she can't make it? Will you take a recipe and just do that? Like if I gave it to you, or was that something that you guys would do?
that's how we have come across a lot of our specialty cookies.
Ah, so you do. So that's been part of your business the whole time then.
Right.
So you will. So if like my mom makes these Italian wedding cakes and these raisin chocolate walnut Italian cookies that are dipped in icing, you know those?
I don't know those, and no offense, but I don't do Italian cookies.
Oh.
I know how difficult those are.
Yeah, it's a hot
And
one.
I don't have
Wild.
the patience to do that.
Yeah, they are very difficult and super messy and super time consuming.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you will do that. That's awesome. Now, how
Yeah.
big will you go? Like, what type of do you have a cutoff where you're like, I cannot? There's no way out of this shop we could do that, or will you just take on like absurd large jobs?
We have taken on absurdly large jobs, and after it's done, it's like, oh my God, I'll never do that again, type thing.
Until the
But
next one.
yeah, until the next one. I have a hard time saying no.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, but you're a
so
business owner. That's what you do. You're in the service industry. Listen, my one problem in life is that I have problems saying no, and I get yelled at all the time about it, but I'm like, that's how I grew up,
yeah,
I'm kind of
yeah,
hardwired for it. And why not? If you can do it, right?
that's right. I mean, and a lot of the things that I'm like, okay, yeah, I think I can try that, have turned into more things like the cookie decorating.
Okay.
They'll send me a picture. Can you do this? And it's like, well, it will look similar. It won't be exactly because it's somebody else's
Sure.
cookie. And it's difficult to do, but we've done some things that I never would have thought I would have been able to do, considering I never had any training at all.
Right. Well, isn't that crazy?
in
So,
doing that.
yeah, because this industry has exploded now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't like this when I was a kid. And it
No.
was, you'd have a cookie. And now they're making like the Eiffel Tower in a cookie. You're like,
Right.
are you kidding me? you
Yeah,
know?
I do those.
Right?
One of my least favorite, but I do
Isn't it
'em.
crazy though? It's just like everything's become such a specialized industry. That's what I thought was good about you, because you were really like a forerunner of that. There really wasn't any shops that I had Runner's Roost on the podcast about a month and a half ago, and I was telling Rob the same thing. And he didn't really think about it, but I was like, Rob, you're a sneaker shop. Like, there were shoe stores, right? But not a
Mm-hmm.
sneaker store.
Right.
And I just think that a lot of these businesses, like, it's a necessity now. And when you really think about it, it serves a good purpose. And cookies are something that we all crave no matter what. And it's just one of those things that are kind of instilled as almost, I know it's not an American thing, of course, but there's certain cookies that are tied into the American lexicon, right?
Right.
And I think like you started with your chocolate chips. And by the way, where did you get your recipe? Did you come up with it, or was it your mom's or your grandma's that was your first cookie?
Um, the cutout recipe was my mom's. The chocolate chip was my mom's.
Wow.
And the snickerdoodle was mom's. I mean,
Oh, so they're recipes that you grew up with.
yeah. Yeah.
And,
I still have them on the original recipe card.
oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we have my parents' thing is a steak oil that my dad had from this guy in Philly, which is like the two steak shops that are real famous in Philly. And that's
Mhm.
we have that same card. It's like they're precious.
Yeah.
Do you have them in the back, like framed?
No, I just have them a little index holder that she had them in.
Oh, that's so cool. Wow.
So.
Yeah, and there's it was in her writing.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yep.
I love it. Yeah, ours is in my dad's. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's how the business started. That's such a beautiful like piece of history for you.
Yeah.
So now Medina as a whole. So you were a forerunner there. You paved the way. I'm sure as I talk to other businesses, I will find out that you had to be, because when that town was on its knees, you were there and you were working hard. And those type of businesses, laid the path for these other businesses to come in. The town's changed a lot. What's the biggest change that you've seen over the last 25 years?
I guess the fact that there's no parking spaces. Honestly, I have more people complain about that, but it's a great, great thing.
It is.
I mean, so you have to walk a block.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. I think people probably got spoiled there for a long time.
Yeah.
And they were used to pulling up in front of your shop and running in. But now you got to park a little further down the road. That's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's good for everybody, because that just mixes it up.
Yeah, it is.
It
is.
And
wonderful.
Is there parking in the back near the harbor there?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So that's probably a
is.
place that a lot of people don't know about either. I mean, the townspeople do, but like the general public probably should know that if the main street's full, you can always. I love finding little like secret parking spots. Actually, I know at this point I should publish a book about them. Because I know all the
You're
little
obsessed
spots.
about them?
Yeah, because I've been doing this since I moved home in 2014. So I find these like little awesome spots that are close to everything that nobody really knows about. So that's awesome. So now your business so you're going on 30 years, and are you you're just going strong at this point? What's your plans for the future?
Well, I'm going to keep working until I probably can't roll dough anymore.
Yeah. So. You're just going to keep on keeping on, right?
Or till I can't decorate a cookie anymore.
Isn't that funny? Well, isn't it awesome too? What year were you in when you said to yourself, holy cow, I did this? Like, we're good. Well, what year? I mean, granted, there's always worries as an entrepreneur and as a business owner. But what were you doing? Did it hit you at some point that you established yourself?
I don't remember.
You don't?
No, I don't remember. I just know that when 2008 hit, it was probably the worst year ever.
Yeah.
And that's when several businesses did shut down. And probably, in all reality, I should have shut down, but it's like, nope, I'm not gonna, because I'm not going back to nursing. So.
I love it. But what got you through? Was it just your will, or did you do something with the business that helped a little bit even?
I got rid of the big green van that I used to drive around and do deliveries in that ate gas up.
Well, what did you say? I mean, you still were doing deliveries. What did you?
I bought a little Chevette or no, a little Equinox. So.
Oh, you did. You know what's funny? When I was out in California, this is 2008 too. So we had a VW Bug, which they're pretty good on gas. But that recession hit. You know, gas out there was like it was like $6 a gallon. It was no joke, and everybody was closing. Houses were getting foreclosed on. It was like the apocalypse. And we bought a little Honda Fit, and it was the best decision we ever made. You know, and I actually I have one now. I got stuck in a Kia, which wasn't a bad car, but it was not great on gas, and I couldn't get out of the lease. But the second I got out of the lease, I got a Honda Fit again. So I'm still on that team. You know, that's awesome. So you were just like stuffing that car full of cookies and driving around. Oh, that's awesome. They were probably on the front seat, in the back seat, in the trunk.
Yeah, well, we have done, and we also do cookie dough fundraisers where we make frozen cookie dough.
Oh, okay.
And like the schools and the bands and schools sell them. So it's very interesting to deliver because they don't always fit into my car. I have to find a couple other drivers to go with me so we can deliver it all. So,
well, so speaking of delivery, so how far will you go in Western New York? Are you just like within Orleans County, or?
We're pretty much Orleans County, but you know, depending on what the person has ordered and if it's a large enough order, I've gone to Amherst and Batavia and Brockport, sometimes to Rochester. You know, it depends on the order.
Well, yeah, of course, right. If you're going to cater like a large event, then the travel's kind of okay, right? So it's size dependent, generally outside of Orleans County. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's completely understandable. So now, as far as the other lines of products, like so, when you have cakes and you do so, but do the cakes and stuff like the cupcakes, are those a daily thing, or are those like sometimes you'll put them out, sometimes they're just
no, we only make those. We only make those to order.
Oh, awesome. So your wheelhouse is still cookies then?
Correct.
Gotcha. So you will do cakes and you will do cupcakes, that type of thing. But again, that's got to be a special order on the side.
Correct.
Wow. So you're awesome, man. I love this. I love that you're just like 27 years and it's cookies still.
Yep.
Really, I mean, in this world of diversification to the point of like just overkill, to have a business that just you're like, I do this, I'm awesome at it, I love it, and why would I want to change? Is just a great thing for everyone to witness. I
just don't think I can handle all that. I couldn't do that all in one day.
Right. Well, that's what
I just couldn't.
Yeah, but nowadays we have specialty shops, but I mean, you were doing it when nobody was really doing it.
Right.
So, yeah, that's fantastic. So now Medina is going through a renaissance. So just for you, because I love the fact that you've been in business for so long there and you've seen all these changes. When did you notice like that you're like, oh my gosh, this is really happening? Like because you go through ebbs, right? But then you guys are on like, it's not going to come back down. So when did you first see that there where you're like, oh my gosh, this is really taken off? Was that a couple years ago or?
I would say probably like maybe 5 years ago.
Okay.
When things were really booming and storefronts were being, picked up and businesses were opening.
Yeah.
I think that's when I really noticed that, okay, there's no parking out there.
So. I love that you're hooked on the parking. Well, you know what? It's the indicator, right?
Right.
It's the canary in the coal mine. If you can't find parking spots in the town, then the town's doing something right. So.
Right. Definitely.
That's awesome. So what else would you like people to know about your business that we haven't covered? Anything?
No, I think we've covered just about everything.
Yeah, it went by fast, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
I know, it's crazy. It's been 50 minutes on the phone.
Oh my.
Yeah, but it was super interesting and super fun, and you're great to talk to. I knew you would be when I met you. I just instantly liked you. So can you? This is off the record. But are your eyes okay now?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're still struggling with that.
Yeah, they put me back on eye drops 4 times a day for the next week, and they'll see how that goes.
Are you still in pain, or?
If I'm off the eye drops, I am.
Wow. So. Oh, geez. I'm sorry. That's tough.
Well, thank you, but.
Yeah. Well, you're a trooper.
I guess I'll. I can finally drive though without I have to drive still with sunglasses and wear them outside all the time, but I can at least drive without, squinting and all
Right.
that kind of stuff. So it's getting a little better. So
Okay. Well,
hopefully,
you look cool
this,
24/7 now.
yeah, isn't that great?
Right, yeah, I know, right? Nice trade off. Well, so what's the prognosis? So you just keep on like taking your meds and
Well, I hope he says he'll keep me on the eye drops for probably a couple months.
okay.
And then instead of taking me off them as quick as he does, he's going to do like, now I'm doing 4 times a day. He'll take me down to 3 times a day for a month, and then
Okay.
2 times a day for a month. So we're looking at a good 6 to 8 months before I'll
Wow.
be
Well, you
without
have to stay
drops.
on them. You don't want to walk around in pain like that. I know the day
No.
that I was in there, you said you had a terrible eye ache, and
Yeah.
Wow, it's tough,
So.
man. Yeah, I told you my ex-wife had that, and she was young, and we were going through the treatments, and they had to do that laser treatment where they pin down. Is that what you had? They had to pin down your cornea. Is that correct?
No, I had my cataracts out.
Oh, it's your cataracts. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're out.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
geez.
came.
Okay, that's a whole nother level. Yeah.
So,
okay.
but it'll
you're
get better.
You're still managing though, and that's what you just got to do. What you got to do, right? And get through every day.
Well, that's how I've lived my whole entire life. So.
Yeah. Yep. And you've built a wonderful business. Now, do you guys live in town?
We live on the outskirts.
You do.
Yeah, we live about 3 miles from town, out in the country.
Kind of. Yeah, you're still kind of in town then. So
Yeah.
that's awesome, though. It's a good life,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And when you look back now, aren't you glad that you took that chance?
Oh, I definitely am.
Look at the difference it made in your life. Sure, and think about like if you were still a nurse. My grandmother was a nurse at Mercy for her whole career, and it's so hard. And as you get older, it just gets harder and harder and harder. And they don't give you any breaks.
No. I mean, everything has totally changed since I've been nursing. So.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, yeah. So I feel bad for the nurses that went through all this COVID crap. So.
I'll tell you. Can I tell you a super quick story about old nurses?
Okay.
So
that would be me.
No. But it's an amazing story. So during the restaurant that we had in the '90s, so my dad was killed in a car accident. My mom was about 10 years away from retirement. I had 2 little sisters. So we moved the business from Buffalo out to East Aurora, and we did really well. And then my mom retired, and my sisters were off, they wanted to get married. So nobody was really interested in taking over the business. And I had worked basically for the entire time, 7 days a week, and I was cooked. And I got really, really sick. I got pneumonia. I ended up in the hospital, and I literally almost died. It's not telling you I almost died. I really, truly almost was on death's door, right? So they could not break my fever, and I was withering away, and I just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and everything they were trying wasn't working. So my grandmother worked at Mercy her whole life. And when she was about to retire, how at that point, I think you just like train the other nurses. It wasn't as clinically steeped as it is now. So she took a couple nurses under her wing, and this one nurse heard my last name, Augustine, and I was up on a certain floor. And this nurse herself was about to retire. She had a couple weeks left. So she comes up, and I am on death's door, okay? And nothing that they were trying was working, and I'll never forget it because I was so hazy and so out of it at this point, but I remember her very well. And she came in and she was pissed, and she grabbed the charts. She was probably pretty high up at that point, and I remember her yelling and cussing out the nursing team on the floor. And then it got really weird, and I was like fading in and out. And all I remember her is yelling at the one nurse to go get gloves and a buck. I don't even know. She got basically what she did is so this is after 3 weeks of being in the hospital, and nothing was. I was gone for all intents and purposes. So she told the one nurse to go get gloves and ice and whatever. So she stuffed. This is all she did. She stuffed iced gloves in every crevice and core of my body, and by morning she broke my fever.
Wow. Why
and
didn't they think of that sooner?
Yeah, she came in the next day, and I gave her a big hug. I was practically in tears, and she's like, I don't know why they do what they do anymore, but there's certain things that there's no reason they should have stopped doing.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh
just,
my.
yeah, isn't that
Wow.
crazy? Like, I mean, that's
That
all
is.
it took. And then I remember talking to the nurses, and they were like, "Well, that's not how things work." And I was like, "Dude, it's ice. That's all you had to do."
And it
Just-
worked.
yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, they like put it everywhere, but they had me covered in it. But the point is that that's kind of how things have changed. It's
Oh
just,
yeah.
it's just like, really, like, what are you doing? You're just jacking me up with all these chemicals and all of this crap, and all you needed to do was that, right?
Yeah, really.
So,
Wow.
yeah. Anyways,
Well, thank God for that nurse.
yeah. Oh God, thank God for her, man. That's what I said. I was like, my
Yeah,
grandma was watching over me for real. That lady just happened
definitely.
to see my name, and she was like, I wonder if that's. And sure enough, she was the last person my grandmother trained, and I was like, wow, isn't that crazy? So.
That is. There's a reason for everything.
Yep, there is, man. Oh,
So,
this was.
so I have to ask you one question
Oh,
though.
sure.
You said your restaurant or whatever was in South Buffalo. Whereabouts in South
Yeah,
Buffalo?
so it was on right across from South Ryan. So it's still there. It's Art Tones, actually.
Is that anywhere near Cushing Place?
I don't know. It's down near the bridge, near if there's like Lenco. If you're on a throughway, it's like down towards the bottom half of Seneca Street.
Oh.
So
Oh,
not
okay,
towards,
because
not like in the city, but it's towards the creek near Kaz.
my aunt lived on Cushing Place, 52 or 57 Cushing Place, and we were up there all the time visiting them
Oh, it's Art
when I was
Tones.
growing up.
It's famous in South Buffalo. So
Yeah.
I
Well, we
remember my
probably
father.
ate there at one point.
I'm sure. Yeah, the steak hoagies is like the thing that like made our whole family. It was like I used to laugh when I was a kid. Did you ever see Down and Out in Beverly Hills with Richard Dreyfuss when he's yelling at his kids about because he makes wire hangers and the kids are like complaining about it, and then he gets really pissed and he's like, "Look, it's wire hangers that clothe you. It's wire hangers that feed you. It's wire hangers that set you to
Exactly.
yeah, and it's kind of like that with you with the cookies, and it was like that for my parents with the steak subs. It's like that one little because that's all you need in life. That's why I was kind of repeatedly saying that about your business because I think it's so amazing that you just did this one thing and you did it so well, and it opened up your entire life for you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad I took the step.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, that's about it for this episode of the Small Town Western New York Companion Podcast. Thanks for listening, and remember to support the small towns of Western New York in any way you can. They're full of great businesses and people who'd love to see you in their towns. The Small Town Western New York Companion Podcast, the TV series, is a presentation of Discovering Western New York and AA Augustine Media Co. and can be found everywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts. Thanks for listening.